Hello.
Hey, Chris.
How you guys doing?
Really great.
Good.
This is a big meeting, I think.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello.
So we have about 80 or 90 people that may be joining. Right now we have about 40 or 38. I'm going to give people a little bit of time to get in, but not too long.
I must say, Chris, it's so different seeing your face, so used to hearing your voice.
Or the back of my head.
Yeah, because your promo stuff has been amazing, actually. Even your, your trailers to entice us to enroll have been great stuff.
Yeah, trailers, right? That's the proof is in the pudding, I guess, right?
Yeah, no, awesome.
So for everybody who's here, welcome. I'll probably repeat myself a little bit if a bunch more people. But apologies, first of all, for being in a weird hotel room. I'm traveling right now. A friend of mine, his father died, so I'm in Kentucky, going to a funeral later on today. Fun. So not the normal day, but I still wanted to do this because I wanted to address everybody's questions before jobs start kind of disappearing off the board, at least for this first round. Let's see. Okay. I'm going to wait till about 10:05 before we really dive into the meat of things. I'll tell you guys kind of the way this is going to roll, and then I'll just briefly summarize if a bunch more people come in. But basically, we're going to do this today for about an hour. Then I got to head out, but I think it's more than enough time to address everything we have to. There's a couple talking points that I'm going to bring up based on kind of common emails I've been getting, common questions. I'm sure a lot of them for you is, I don't live in the US, what do I do? But we're going to do that. Once we get started, I'll just ask, I guess I can mute everybody, but I'll ask if everybody could just stay muted while the meeting's going. And then we're going to kind of have a Q&A. And as people ask their questions, if you're interested, let me know when you ask your question. Whether or not you'd like to discuss this live on camera, and you can unmute yourself, show your camera, or whatever else you want to do, and we can kind of have a little bit of a dialogue. But by no means is that required if you just want to type a question. All right, close enough to 10:05. Let's begin. So, let's see, what are we doing here? So when you guys ask a question, if you feel free to start typing questions now, but I would ask that you type a question in a very particular format. If you can, keep it to one message send so that there's not like 3 or 4 partial thoughts being kind of strung together, possibly being broken up by other people's questions. So put it all in one concise message. At the beginning of the message, if you could, say on camera or off camera, or mute or unmute, whatever you want to say, whether or not you'd like to actually speak when I call on you guys, when I answer your question. Otherwise, I can just kind of address it and just roll with it. But yeah, feel free to start answering questions or start asking questions. I put together a little poll as well. You don't have to answer it, and I don't think Zoom requires it. You should just be able to close it if you don't want to. But it'll just kind of give me a feel for everybody's experience in the room. So I'll go ahead and I'll launch that now. So that should be popping up for you guys. Cool. And does everybody have the ability to type in chat? Nobody's blocked from that, are you? If you are, just let me know. Good. All right. And nobody's having trouble hearing me? If you are in chat, just let me know. Say trouble. Silence is good. Cool. All right. Well, I'm going to start off with some of the common questions that I've been getting asked. So one of them is remote work. big question. A lot of people now are pointing out the fact that, especially after COVID, remote work is becoming a lot more common. If you don't live in the Los Angeles area, which is where all this first round of jobs is it still possible to get one of these jobs? So a couple things about that. So the first thing is that all of the initial jobs are in LA. Those are all the contacts that I had and friends and acquaintances and colleagues that were just kind of starting out with for these first round of jobs. And of course, it's all in the trailer industry, since that was my main focus throughout my career. We plan on editing jobs internationally as much as possible. It's going to be a big push for this job board, because I really think it's the final step to an editing education to actually do something with it. And we're in a good position to be able to help people do that. We're definitely gonna be putting jobs in Los Angeles, London, Australia, pretty much all over the place. It's just gonna kind of take some time as we do the outreach. And as you can imagine, the people that we reach out to are kind of busy. So a simple yes or no email response is typically not happening. It's taking about a week or two before we hear back from people. And then I'll typically have a meeting with the HR department, the hiring managers, tell them about the type of stuff that we teach you guys, what your level of experience typically is, although I know that varies pretty widely between you guys, to give them a feel for the type of candidates that we'll be sending. But back to the remote work question. So the short answer to that is it's not viable at first, especially in the trailer industry, especially at these kind of bigger jobs. These companies that you see posted on the job board right now, Ammo Creative, Trailer Park, Buddha Jones, and some of those other ones, they're all working directly with major studios, Universal, Fox, Warner Brothers, Sony, Paramount. So the projects that they're working on are typically pretty secure, pretty sensitive as far as security goes. So some of their editors, basically once you get to an editor level or above, some of their editors are working remotely, but they know and they trust them. They've worked with them for 5 years, 10 years. And they don't feel too sketchy about sending the latest, copy of whatever, Thor 19 to somebody's house. But at least for initial employees, especially people more at the assistant editor level, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't just send stuff to somebody I had just met a week ago. Also, as you saw, a lot of the jobs, they range from runner and PA to assistant editor to junior editor. Junior editor is kind of where you can start being a little bit more independent as far as your workflow, but assistant and runner, they basically want you to learn their systems. They want you to be on site, learning from the other employees. And speaking specifically about an assistant editor, if you guys aren't familiar with what that job entails in the trailer world, I'll tell you, basically some companies split it up. The larger companies will have more kind of grade A positions, but in general, an assistant editor is going to get the assets from wherever they come from. They're going to ingest them into the system, organize them, and give them access to, or give the editors access to them. They're also going to do things like finish preps. So say an editor cuts a 30-second spot for X, Y, or Z movie. When that gets locked by the studio on version whatever, that needs to be prepped to go to sound and to go to picture. The assistants are going to basically take their final sequence. They're going to overcut any temporary footage with the final feature, final effects. That will get sent to picture finishing, and then the audio prep and the cue sheets and stuff like that, that's going to be all sent to the music department to license all the music and the sound effects, and it's going to be sent out for mixing. So that's kind of what an assistant editor is going to do. At any of these levels, assistant, runner or assistant, you'll have tons of time to cut your own projects. Probably the coolest thing about starting in a position like that at one of these companies is that you are going to have access to pretty much everything the company has. They typically don't hide things from anybody. It's not like, this person has like top secret versus secret clearance. It's not usually like that. Usually if the company's working on any number of projects, if you want to stay after hours, if you want to work through lunch, if you're just not doing anything in the afternoon, you can cut a TV spot, you can cut a trailer. You have access to be able to show it to the producers. And that's typically the way that you move up when you start kind of at the assistant or lower level. That's what I did. I started as a runner. You guys have probably seen my story 1,000 times, but I started as a runner and then spent a lot of extra time just cutting stuff, showing it to producers. And once it wasn't awful, the producers were actually kind of eager to get me into a bay. Typically, the way that these companies promote, they like to promote from within. Because they want people to know the systems. They want people to have their organization the way that the company wants things organized, particularly with timelines. As I'm sure you guys all know, a timeline can quickly get out of control. So if, let's say that some person came in directly as a high level editor, they started working on a trailer, but they weren't kind of organized in the way that the company likes to be, which is generally just kind of a standard organization system with a trailer. You're going to put narration on top, dialogue right beneath it. As far as your audio tracks, you're going to then put either music next or sound design next, but generally things kind of stay packaged together in a set of tracks. And they kind of most companies have a system. Some companies are working in dual mono splits, some people are working in stereo, so you just kind of have to get used to that. But you will typically be showing your cuts to producers, and the companies love it when especially junior editors. It's a great position that companies like to have a lot of, because at that level you're making a good salary, but you're not like making an enormous amount of money. So the companies can be very profitable working with you. So they're always looking for good junior editors and good people in that kind of level. Some of those trailer editors, once they get really up there, are making $500,000 a year. And those people have to knock it out of the park every single time. They have to have client relationships. Nobody starts there. I never even got to that level because, that's just, there's very few people that get that high. But even once you start getting to the $150,000, $200,000 range, like there's not much room for error. At the junior level, you'll be able to experiment and learn and practice. And if you don't do such a great job on a couple of things, it's really not a big deal because you're not costing an arm and a leg for them. There's other questions I can answer, but we've been getting a bunch of questions here in the chat, so I'm going to address some of those. Let's see what we got. And I don't have a moderator for this, so you'll have to bear with me as I try to wade through this stuff. Okay, so Andy Wanacott, feel free to unmute yourself if you want to.
How's it, Chris? Thanks for this. This is a great platform and a great initiative. I just want to find out, the jobs that you got advertised so far are all kind of permanent, ongoing jobs. Are you going to be opening up at some point for kind of more freelance, once-off jobs as you go down the line?
Yeah, good question. Yes, I see no reason not to. Those jobs tend to be harder to vet. Because I definitely don't want to fill the job board with stuff that you guys don't want to do. So vetting 100 individual freelance jobs and making sure the person's not going to stiff you, making sure that they don't have a bad track record is going to be harder. So to be honest, I'm going to be saving that for last.
Totally.
And we're going to start with kind of career type staff jobs.
Right.
Some of these jobs, though, some of the ones that are listed, any one of them might bring you on as freelance, and it might be a temporary thing. I think most people want to come on as staff, so you get health insurance, you get 401 the benefits. Right. So to be honest, I bet it'll probably take at least 6 months before we even think about diving into the freelance world.
Right. So just keep an eye out and just see what pops up over time.
Pretty much, yeah. And Andy, I'll use you as a guinea pig for this question. So as new jobs come up, we haven't totally, this is all brand new. We haven't totally figured out exactly how we're going to be presenting them to people. Obviously, if jobs just randomly appear on the board, you guys will, nobody's going to sign on every day to see what's available. So we're thinking about doing kind of a weekly update, that these 17 new jobs, these 2 new jobs appeared.
Yeah. That's a great idea. Yeah, brilliant idea. Yeah.
And we'll put at the bottom of the email, there will be a way to opt out of that if you're like, I don't care, stop emailing me.
Yeah. Kind of a way to filter it and kind of receive those mails is kind of the best way for me. Everybody might have a different way to want to receive them, but for me, that would be fantastic. Yeah.
Perfect. Cool.
Cool. Thanks.
Yep. What else we got? Let's see. So JT says, off camera, simple question, where are the job boards? So if you are a student in the training area, you'll see it, you log in and it'll be on the top of navigation. And if you are not a student, you can go to, it's a terrible URL, but that's why you're supposed to kind of do it from the login area, but it's pages.filmeditingpro.com/jobs. And I'll type that in the chat. Oops. Ravikant, what do we got here? Hey, Chris, my question is, if my end game is scripted TV film, is it worth it for me to try to get into the trailer industry and worry about transitioning to scripted and TV films later? Thank you. I would say no. I would say that's not worth your time. It's a very, very, very different path. I actually had a couple conversations with some of the hiring managers about that. And I don't know if you've, Ravikant, or if you or if anybody else has had a chance to check out the application yet, but there is a question on there that says specifically like, what is your path here? Do you want to cut trailers, teasers, and promos? Do you want to do long format, you know, features and documentaries? And I think there was one other question, I forget what it was. But the hiring managers basically said that an issue that they run into sometimes is that people do want to do something other than trailers and teasers. They'll come into that career. The company will spend kind of a lot of resources training the person to be an assistant, to learn how to do the overcutting, the cue sheets, the finishing process. And the person works there for 6 months or a year. They get a great, you know, reputable job on their resume, albeit somewhat unrelated to what they want to do. And then they kind of disappear and they say, well, I'm going to go do X. I'm going to go direct something. I'm going to go work in scripted. And it's kind of not cool for the company. I mean, whatever, you know, companies have plenty of money. It's their problem. But companies don't really like that because they just, you know, the expectation is if they spend time training you and getting you up to speed, you'll become an asset that becomes a profitable part of the company, which is typically somebody that can edit something and then they can charge clients hours. So I would say no. That said, trailers are a lot of fun, so give it a thought. But we will be putting other types of jobs on here. So it's not just gonna be trailers, we're just starting there. Eventually there will be scripted, there will be longer format. There's probably gonna be a lot of like online jobs too, like social ads and stuff like that. That's a huge market. And to Andy's question, I think that's gonna appear more around the time that we start getting to freelance stuff. But even working for ad agencies as a video editor, I mean, those guys are constantly churning out content. And as a company, like we hired an ad agency one time for Film Editing Pro. I probably won't do it again because they didn't really understand what we were doing and we wasted a lot of money with them. But like those guys were busy, like their editors were constantly cutting. So we'll have that type of job too. And that stuff's pretty fun. I don't know. I think part of the fun about cutting trailers and promos and ads and stuff like that, even the stuff that we put out for Film Editing Pro, I like the psychology aspect. Like, how do you present something in the most exciting light briefly and quickly? So that's always kind of a fun, like puzzle mental challenge, at least that I enjoy. What else? Do you have any editorial positions for the animation industry? Not yet. That'll probably come too. Good idea. And this whole chat's being saved, so that's, I hadn't even considered animatics. That's a great idea. I'm gonna write that one down. There's some questions here that are confusing me, so I'm gonna skip them. Let's see what else.
Hey, Chris.
Yeah, who we got?
It's Tyler here. I was the one that was asking about the animatics.
Oh yeah, hey Tyler.
Hey, yeah, so I'm an animatic editor working up in Canada. And I mean, I've been working for the past 7 years, cutting animatics for various different TV shows. And I was just wondering, like, is that something that comes across your desk like very frequently at all, like stuff in the animation industry?
It's not yet. I imagine once we start some outreach, it will.
Yeah.
I think this is I think this job board is going to be a really, well, let's just put it this way. It was an easy pitch to all the companies I spoke with,
Right.
because they were like, they spend so much time looking at resumes. So I think any industry that we start to dive into is going to open their doors to us pretty quickly. But as of right now, no, we haven't heard much of that yet.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's all good. It's I've got a pretty good job right now, so.
Okay, good. Oh, here's a great question from Aya. Aya, I don't know if you want to talk, but feel free to unmute yourself. But Aya asks, are the companies able and willing to provide working visas in the US? And secondary question, is Avid necessary? Good questions. And those were on my list to address too. So, hey Aya,
Hi.
how are you?
Oh, good. Thank you.
Good, nice to see you. So I'll do the first one. So where do you live, Aya?
Japan.
Okay, am I pronouncing your name correctly?
Yes, I'm Aya.
Okay. Okay. So the visa question, yeah, that's a tough one. So I did a little bit of research myself into visas. I've spoken a little bit to them, or to the some of the managers about them. Some companies are more willing than others, is the short answer. From what I understand, it's a process. I mean, it's a government process, so who knows how long it takes typically, but they say 2 to 7 months is typically the issue. A lot of the times when jobs come up, they're looking to fill the position pretty quickly within weeks. So it's an uphill battle for sure, but that doesn't mean it's not possible. And the right company will probably work with you on that. I would say don't let that dissuade you from applying to any jobs. Go ahead and apply. Mention in your cover letter or somewhere else. I mean, well, so you'll list your location where you live, like that'll be transparent and obvious. But also listing your cover letter, you know, acknowledging that fact, and maybe point out like why it might be worth them taking the time and the extra steps to do that with you. Because it's kind of a pain in the butt, but it doesn't mean, like, a lot of companies are looking to bring in more diverse talent, people from other cultures, people from around the world, because especially with advertising, now that advertising is so global for movies and for everything else, just having, I mean, honestly, a bunch of white guys from the US sitting around cutting stuff, you just get one perspective. So a lot of companies are looking to hire females, people from other cultures. So it's a huge selling point. It's just kind of, it creates an obstacle, but there's pros and cons to both.
Thank you.
Nothing, there's no simple answer, right?
I will try anyway.
And then you asked about Avid. Great question. Avid is definitely not necessary. It probably used to be, but not anymore. Some jobs will straight up require Avid and others will not. I started out learning Avid just coincidentally, because that's the place I was going to work at. That's where I was interning. And I mean, starting on Avid, everything else seemed easy because Avid's kind of a pain. But I would say, you know, be skillful and adept at whatever software you're currently in, Avid, Final Cut, Premiere, DaVinci, one of the other 20,000 programs. Because once you are, you can pretty easily transition. For example, I was an Avid editor exclusively. I got a job at a company that was cutting, this was at Aspect, actually, one of the jobs on the board. And they were at the time working on Final Cut 7, which was super antiquated. So they hired me though, as an Avid editor to cut on Final Cut 7. And it took me, I don't know, like a week. And then I was pretty up to speed with it. It was weird and everything felt different. And I had to remap my hotkeys and approach some things differently, but the concepts were the same. So it just took a little bit to get fast. But generally, you know, it's not going to be too much of a sticking point. As long as you know some software, most companies aren't going to care. And they might just be like, well, take a quick course before you show up to work. Like, that's all it's going to be.
Okay, that's good.
And apologies to everybody who's been waiting for the Avid course to come out. I know that we promised that about 3 years ago. That's completely my fault. We keep getting sidetracked with other projects, and it's coming eventually, but I will not say a date because then I'll just be a liar again. That said, also about Avid, a lot of companies are now working in Premiere. It's pretty much either Avid or Premiere. Very few companies are working exclusively with other software, but yeah, if you know one, you can learn the other fast. Anything else, Aya? Oop, I think you're muted. Can't hear you.
Usually the hiring start from assistant editors. But do you have any trainees positions? Like, what is the below level of the assistant editors? Is it runners?
At some of the companies?
Mhm.
Yeah. So typically the structure of positions within a company related to the editorial department, going from bottom to top, bottom would be intern, typically paid because especially in Los Angeles, like you have to have some money. And it's like, I mean, I don't know, you're gonna have to have 6 roommates if you're an intern in Los Angeles, but it'll be intern. Then you go to runner and PA. And you guys probably saw a lot of the kind of the hourly rates on some of these on the board. After runner and PA, you go to assistant editor. You're in that position for anywhere from between 6 months to 2 years. Depends on how fast you progress and how much editing you do on the side. After assistant, you go to junior editor, which is another salary bump. At the junior level is the first time you go into an editing bay. You've got your own room finally. You're getting projects. You're cutting just like every other editor. You just might not be cutting on the coolest stuff. Then from junior, you get a bump up to just regular editor. That's what most people at these companies are. And then if you turn out to be a superstar, you end up being a senior editor, where you get the coolest trailers. I say coolest, but you know, the most dramatic, whatever, the biggest name movies, and the best salary. So it's, yeah, so it's intern, runner, AE, junior editor, editor, senior editor.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. One other thing before I dive into more questions that I'd like to address. Oh, and if you could mute yourself also, sorry. Is the issue of the Editors Guild. So some of these positions are union and some of them are not. I don't know if you're familiar with the union, but it's called the Motion Picture Editors Guild, or IATSE 700. And a lot of the companies used to be union, and it regulates the wages. It gives you amazing health benefits, retirement benefits, but it's kind of tricky to get into. If a company lists that it's a union shop, you'll need to have, I believe it's 100 working hours at editing someplace else that's not union before you can apply for that job, which isn't that many hours, but if you don't have a job at all, like you straight up can't apply to the union jobs. But if you can get into a union job, like for example, if you work in a union job for, I think it's like 15 years or something like that, after that point, you'll have, they give you health insurance for your entire life for free. Stuff like that. They give you great retirement benefits. The salaries can never go below a minimum. There's pros and cons. Sometimes you'll find that the salaries at the non-union shops end up being higher, way higher than the minimum, because those companies don't have to pay for the crazy benefits and stuff like that the union provides. But just be aware when you're applying to jobs, if it says it's a union job, you'll need to have 100 hours editing someplace else, and you'll need to join the union before you can apply. www.editorsguild.com is the union website. And you can read about the application process from there. I believe right now the only company listed on our job board that's union is Aspect. So it's a great place to work. If you can get in there, but just be aware, you'll have to jump through some of those union hoops. And feel free to email me if I just talk too quickly. Email me more questions about the union, I can answer those. All right, what else do we have? And I apologize if I'm kind of skipping some questions, but I'm doing my best. Okay. Daniel says, off-camera question. Hey, Chris, I'm from Mexico. If I'm already building up a career locally, when would it be a good time to make the jump to LA? I'd say after you've secured a job in LA. So I wouldn't suggest that anybody move here hoping to get one of these jobs or any future job. I wouldn't do it. I mean, LA is expensive, and but there's a ton of jobs, so it's like it's not that hard. So just apply to these places. All the meetings are going to be conducted via Zoom, so you don't have to come here to interview. Maybe on meeting 2 or 3, you might, if like you're a serious candidate and a finalist. But initially, you definitely don't have to worry about being here to apply. What else do we have? So many questions. I'm just gonna keep skipping around. When it comes to locations, Los Angeles is always listed as the big one, but what are other solid centers in the US, i.e. Atlanta, Georgia? New York and LA are big for trailers. You know, honestly, I haven't looked everywhere else. So I can't give you a real answer to that. I'm not educated on that. We'll be finding out pretty soon as we continue to reach out. But yeah, right now, LA is like 95% of the jobs. And then New York has like, I don't know, 3 places. This is just entertainment trailers. This is movies and films. Other editing stuff, like all over the place. You can be anywhere. It's a vague answer. I apologize. Let's see what else we have. Does it help to get a job if you already make some fan film trailers, sound design work, not paid but purely fan made? Yes. And I'm going to come back to that. I'm going to real quick take a look at this. Oh, did I ever launch this poll? I did. Great. Let's see. Let me see who we're talking with right now. Get a feel for the room. So 40 or 74% of you have said that you've edited a trailer or promo before. 50-50. Half of you have taken our trailer course, half of you have not. 74% of you are currently working as an editor, full or part-time. 57% of you are thinking about applying to the jobs. And if you are not thinking about applying, these are your main reasons. I don't live in the area. I don't think I have enough experience. Those are big ones. Very few of you said I'm not interested. I don't think you'd be here if you weren't interested. Yeah, it was pretty much I don't live near the jobs or I don't have enough experience. Those are the big ones. So let me come back to that question I was just looking at here, which was, yeah, so cutting fan trailers, doing other work. So when I was speaking with a lot of the hiring managers, you know, I let them know that, you know, a lot of folks are not going to have a reel when they apply, especially for something like an AE or a junior editor. Like you might not have a ton of work, especially not official finished work that appeared on TV or was paid for by a client. And that's perfectly okay. It's not really expected. If you can demonstrate, well, so first of all, cutting a fan trailer, if you cut the trailer for our course, any type of that type of effort doesn't go unnoticed. Like it's a lot of work to cut a trailer. So the fact that you can take on a project and complete that project, it says a lot about your character. It says a lot about your work ethic. Even if it's not that good, it doesn't even have to be that good. Like the stuff I was cutting early on was pretty bad. I mean, to the point that I would show it to other editors and they would just say a couple things, but I know it wasn't because there was only a couple things to address. It was because we were going to be there all day if they talked about everything. So yeah, absolutely. Do your own fan trailers, cut stuff with our course. We're trying to do some things with some of these employers where occasionally they'll have projects that pop up that do not involve sensitive or secure material. And so for example, in the trailer industry, there's 2 main award shows that happen every year. There's the Golden Trailer Awards, and then there's the Key Arts. And they're basically, it's like best action trailer, gold, silver, bronze, best drama trailer. They do it for print advertising. They do it for social ads, stuff like that. And at the beginning, these are actually like live in-person things that are typically held down in Hollywood at the Chinese Theater. And when they have those events, there's always a trailer that plays at the beginning of all the trailers, you know, like this year has been a great year for trailers. You know, we've had action, we've had drama, and it's going to show people's edits all over the screen. But somebody has to cut that thing, and it's like 2 minutes long. And every year, one studio or one trailer shop gets the job of cutting something like that. There's a million types of projects. This is just one example. But it's a pain in their butt because they have to kind of dedicate a bunch of editors to doing that, and they're not getting paid for it. But it's a cool project. It's super fun. And in like the person whose trailer it is, it gets shown to the entire industry. So like projects like that are perfect learning projects that we can start giving to you guys to work on. And, you know, we'll pick the top 5, send it to the company. They'll be like, great, let's use this one. They didn't have to use their editors. You guys got to work on something awesome. And then whoever got theirs finished, it's going to be shown at the award ceremony for the trailer industry, which is totally cool. So we're going to try to get more projects for you guys to work on like that. It's tough cutting fan trailers because essentially you're just probably ripping something off a Blu-ray. You don't have good audio splits. Your dialogue and your music and your sound effects are all mixed together, which makes it nearly impossible to cut something. If you're ever trying to do that, you can try to grab it from a 5.1 or a 7.1 mix. Usually the center channel is going to have dialogue pretty isolated, but it's not going to be super clean. But yeah, work on the side, demonstrating your work ethic, and anything that you can show as far as what you've cut in your creativity is absolutely a good idea. What else? Justin Ferrato, I don't know if you want to speak up or not, but feel free to unmute yourself if you do.
Hey,
says,
hey, how's it going?
Justin, hey, how are you?
Good, good. Actually, Chris, I emailed you about 3 or 4 years ago when I took the trailer editing course way back when, and I found it incredibly valuable, and I still go back to the resources. So just want to say thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm glad you liked it. I'm glad it was helpful.
Yeah, absolutely.
So your question says, what are the best networking strategies within the trailer world? This is about who you know or having a better portfolio. Where are the best events in LA or websites to get to know trailer folks? So the best networking strategy, well, the most direct method now is literally just use our job board. Like that is the best method that you could possibly use right now. If you are not applying to, I mean, I said this in the emails, and you know, we send a lot of emails, and it's probably hard for you guys to tell sometimes. Is it marketing? Are they serious? Is this just a sales tactic? Usually it's pretty genuine. With these jobs, like I literally had 30-minute to 1-hour conversations with every company, and they're very much looking forward and waiting for the applications to show up, which is kind of why I'm holding this meeting, because you know, I'll be honest with you, as of right now, we've only had 2 people apply to these jobs. They applied to multiple jobs, which is excellent, but like, that's not many people. And these are like legit jobs. So I want to really encourage people to do so. I want to encourage people to not hesitate, you know, if they're not sure about like, oh, I don't live there. What about a visa? I don't use Avid. I don't use Premiere. Just apply, like let the companies figure that out. That's not your problem. But yeah, these places, they're looking for your resumes. You know, when nobody wants to sort through monster.com or Indeed resumes, it's a pain. There's like hundreds of them. The way this is going to work with this board is that me and a couple of members of the team, we're personally going to vet the applications from you guys before they get to the employers. Most people's applications will make it through, but like literally if somebody sends an application and you know their writing is very, I don't know, it's terrible. If we've had like an awful experience with somebody in the past and they've told us like, go screw yourself in an email, like we're probably not going to send your resume forward. If you know, if you have no trailer experience, if you've never practiced one, if you've never taken the course, you don't have to take the course. This is not a sales thing. But you know, if you have zero experience cutting a trailer, your resume may or may not make it through. It depends on the position that you apply to. If you apply to a junior editor position, it's not going to make it through. If you apply to an AE or a runner, like yeah, absolutely, that's where you're going to learn. So anyway, so yeah, these people are looking for your stuff. So this is number one. Use this first. Second, there are like mixers and stuff like that, especially with the Editors Guild that you can go to. I don't think you have to be, you might have to be a guild member. You can go to any of the one of the award shows. I mean, you can just Google when the award shows are, and you can show up at the bar next door, which is where everybody hangs out. And you can just talk to people in the industry. I don't know. I wouldn't be very good at that. I feel like that might be awkward. But generally, if you're going to go cold, like let's say that there's companies that you want to apply to that are not on the board, that you don't have a direct path to through us, or you don't know somebody else there. Google, so look up the trailer award shows. So Golden Trailer Awards, and then Key Arts, Trailer Key Arts. So these websites are going to show you, they're going to list every single trailer company in Los Angeles, New York, and everywhere else. So you can use that. I believe they even have contact information. If they don't, Google their website. You can find out how to reach these people. Typically it's jobs at the company's name.com or careers at or HR at. And just let them know, and feel free to say, you know, I'm associated with Film Editing Pro, or, you know, I heard about you guys through Film Editing Pro. That might, you know, get your email a little bit more noticed, but just reach out and just say what you're interested in and do it to a bunch of places. If you don't have an in, go with quantity. But do it via email. I wouldn't necessarily make too many phone calls. I don't think people are probably going to call you back, at least not initially. Everybody's pretty busy. Like I have trouble getting calls back, but yeah, emails are great. Did that answer your question, or did I just babble?
No, yeah, very, very helpful. It seems like, you know, we're able to kind of blindly cold call. I feel like 5, maybe 8 years ago, you had to, it was all about like who you knew, you know, in the world. And it seems now with the internet, you're able to kind of be a little bit more blindly cold emailing and reaching out and everything. But yeah, I just want to say thanks. Like I have a little bit of experience in the trailer, you know, industry. I worked on some pretty big shows over at HBO and more of like a junior editor type position. And like I said, your course, the trailer editor course, was my like Bible when I was kind of getting through, you know, in the trenches, you know, those late nights and everything like that. So definitely want to give you a props for that.
Awesome, man. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
You know, and something I'll mention too is that a lot of these companies right now, so you guys are the assets that the companies are looking for. Especially after COVID, a lot of companies downsized, as you can imagine. But with everything having picked back up easily within the last 6 months, maybe even longer than that, companies are getting all their work back, which was already at an accelerating rate because of all the streaming services. You know, you got Amazon Prime and Netflix and Disney basically competing to see who can put out the most shows a year. And every single show either needs an edited show or it needs a trailer or 7 trailers. Online, I mean, like there's a never ending supply of things to edit now, and companies do not have the staff to do it. And as you can imagine, their lower level staff keeps getting promoted to upper level positions. So nobody's going to sit in an AE position for 5 years. Nobody wants, well, maybe you want to do that, but I wouldn't want to do that. So they're constantly losing AEs because they're becoming junior editors, which is great. And they can edit more stuff for the company and it's more fun for the individual and they get paid better and everybody's happy, but now they need an AE. So like, it's this feeding from the bottom issue that's all the companies are dealing with right now. So, I guess I'm saying feel a little bit confident about applying to these places because they're actually looking for people. Like you're not bothering them, like you're what they need right now. What else do we have? I apologize if you asked a question super early and I scrolled past it. No offense. I'm gonna start at the top, just do a quick scroll down. Let's see what we got. So we have about 15 minutes left. Some of these have been kind of answered, so I'm just not going to answer specific scenarios. Yeah. Would it be possible to sit? This is from Patty Moore. Patty, feel free to hop on camera, although I think this is a pretty quick question, but feel free.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I guess my question is, can you hear me all right?
Yep, I got you.
Okay, yeah. Just, you know, and I imagine being an editor in a room, you probably don't want anybody sitting. But if you could ever do like a screen recording or something, I'd love to. And that goes for anybody, I guess, on this whole chat, that if we wanted to kind of share that thought process and kind of be a virtual set of eyes to kind of watch somebody's process, you know, it'd be, you know, I would be into watching it, but I don't know if many people would be, but you know.
I guess it depends on what part of the edit you're at, right? How
yeah,
boring.
I guess. Yeah, true enough. It would have to be really, I guess, at the tail end, the finishing touches.
I'm doing the dialogue breakdown, Patty. You want to watch it?
But you know, fair enough. But Chris, I just want to reiterate the fact that very thankful for all this that you kind of put together. It's been amazing. I've done 2 courses, and it's been invaluable to me. I don't work in the industry. I work as a social media graphic designer, and but I can tell you how great this course has been for me.
I really appreciate that. Thank you, Patty.
Yeah,
Thank you.
no, thank you.
And your question, it's a good question. So you guys have probably all seen Leon. He's one of our new trainers. He's been a big part of driving the YouTube channel recently. And I've been in the process of moving states from California to San Antonio because there's no reason to live in California if I don't need to, and it's really expensive. So I'm setting up a studio down there where I'm going to be filming from, but at the moment it's not set up. So Leon's kind of carrying the brunt of that. So that's why you see his face plastered all over the place. But he keeps suggesting that we do more live stuff, that we do live edits, things like that, even that we can, even remoting in with maybe somebody working on a project at one of these companies that might be not too security sensitive, and just kind of talking about that as they're working. Yeah, I would say that it's definitely possible that we can do that. Like I said, I'm saving this chat, and afterwards I'm just going to kind of go through it and write down good ideas, and that will be one of them.
Well, thanks again.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Good to meet you.
You too.
What else we got? So Matthias, is that how you pronounce your name? I'm going to look at your question here. I think I skipped it because it was long and I was frazzled, so I didn't read it all, but now I'm going to read it. But you can feel free to pipe up if you want to or not. It says, are these jobs for the first people to respond? I have many years of editing experience, but only with basic trimming, editing, mixing for smaller client projects. I'm less versed with all the functions of Avid, Premiere, Resolve, etc. I just know the basics. So first, I wanted to work through the course before applications, and then second of all, is also done in Germany. We've kind of talked about that a little bit. Ignore that, just apply, let them deal with it. So basically my question is, if I take the necessary time to work through these courses and wait until there might be remote possibilities, I would not wait for that. Or possibilities in Germany, there might be that, but it might take a little bit of time. But if you're not willing to move, then yeah, wait for that. We'll try to get every country, and hopefully you guys live near major cities. Are there still chances of getting a job? Yeah, so that's a complicated question. I would say if you're willing to move to the US, just start applying. If you're not, you're on our radar, and we're going to try to hit Germany too. It's a lot of work to kind of reach out to all these companies. It takes a lot of time, and it takes us away from making, like, we have a couple of courses that we're making that we're hopefully releasing kind of either later this year or early next year. Then there's the Avid course that still needs to be made, all the other stuff that we do. So like, we've done nothing but work on this job board for probably about a month and a half. I think it's gonna be a long ongoing process to reach out to everybody and to get into every country. But yeah, the plan is not just to leave the US. You said at the beginning, are these jobs for the people first to respond? That's a good question. So basically, we're going to kind of process applications weekly. So like, let's say you applied on a Monday and somebody else applied on a Thursday. Like, one person isn't ahead of the other person if we process applications on a Friday. That's kind of what it's going to be. And I can't guarantee you what day we're going to process them, but just, we're basically going to send them in batches to companies. So I don't know, like, I guess you kind of might get in front of somebody a little bit, but then it also depends on when the person at the company looks at it, because it might take them 2 weeks to look at it. We've sent them 3 batches. So it didn't matter whether you applied today or 3 weeks from now. In general, I would apply sooner than later, just because, these positions tend to fill up easily within a month, sometimes weeks, but they usually don't sit there forever. Then they'll come back online, like the positions will show up again. We have 20 other companies too, whose positions are not on here yet, because I'm still working through things with them and waiting for the positions to show up. So there's more coming, but I'd say, like, we wanted to make a system where you could easily apply for more than one job at a time and not have to re-enter all the information on the application over and over again, which I know is obnoxious. Technically, we haven't found a way to do that with the technology quite yet. I'm sure that there's a way, but we haven't nailed it. So I would just save your answers that you're writing, especially your long format written answers that you're writing out to some of those questions, like tell us about your background or why do you like editing, stuff like that, your cover letter, just save those someplace so you can just copy and paste them when you do other applications. What else? Bruna says, hi Bruna, Pastor, I think I emailed with you yesterday. Feel free to,
Yes.
hi, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
Good, how do you say your last name?
Pastore.
Pastore, nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
So Bruna says, hi Chris, I work for a full-time company cutting TV shows, spots, and movies for social media for big studios, but I have never cut a 2-minute and 30-second trailer. Can I apply for a video editor for big trailer companies, or do I have to take a step back and become a junior editor? You'd probably have to take a step back, yeah, to be honest with you. It's pretty different style of editing. I imagine you'll get up to speed really, really quickly if you're already doing all that. But it is a different tempo for sure. And it's a different level of sound work usually. So, you know, I don't know whether that would be a pay cut for you or not, but yeah, I like, honestly, we haven't put any positions on the board higher than junior editor, just because I don't expect too many people. Like I didn't start at a junior, like the only people that start at editor are typically people coming from another company that are already editing trailers. So yeah, short answer.
So like if you already cut like cuts downs, 30 seconds, or like spots for big studio like Disney, HBO, Amazon. So for me to get into like but I've cut for Ignition, but not trailer, you know. So I would have to give a step back to go to the.
You know
like,
what?
I
I
don't know,
totally misread your question. I apologize. I misread your question. You have cut spots. Yeah. Okay. You just haven't.
So I have cut spots. I
Yeah.
work for a good company here in LA. I cut like spots for TV shows and movies. But this company, it's focused more on social. So we just do the socials for the studios. But my question was, if I want to go to a bigger company that cuts trailers like Bond, you know, those kind of companies, would I have to apply as a junior editor because I just do spots? I've never cut like a 2.5 minute trailer, or
you'll be okay.
I will be okay.
Yeah, sorry. I misread it. You'll be fine. Bond, by the way, a good friend of mine is the VP of the AV section over there. So we're actually getting them on the job board too. But
I just have one more question. If we apply for those as for a video editor, how is the average of salary? Because I feel like for companies here, they range a lot. It's very different for each company. So I never really know the average of the video editors when they ask you your salary.
I hate that question. I hate it when people ask you what you want to make. It's like, just pay people what you think that they should be paid based on what you're paying everybody else, you know. It's an awkward position to be put in. Well, so I'll tell you that the union, not like I said, most places are not union, but it's a nice barometer to look at as far as what salaries should be. I believe the starting union salary for a regular trailer editor is around $150,000 a year. If junior editors are more like, and again, this varies widely, like there could be, and we're trying not to put any crappy companies on here, so all of these places should have good salaries, like competitive, but juniors between 70 and 90 maybe. But again, that can range plus or minus 20 or 30,000. Yeah, I would be looking, if you're applying to be a regular full-fledged editor, not a senior, not a junior, just an editor, and you're looking to work at a solid company, a place like Bond, AV Squad, Aspect, Motion, Trailer Park, I would be looking for north of 100,000.
Okay, and and do you recommend applying for those companies more than one time if you already have applied in the past?
How long ago?
In the future. I don't know, it's just a question. Like if you apply once and you don't get the job, how long ago can you apply it again?
I don't know, maybe every 6 months or something like that. I wouldn't do it every month. That said, let me help you out with that. So if you have that level of experience, can you email me, Bruna?
Yes.
After this meeting, send me an email. Tell me, you know what, even, yeah, send me an email and kind of just give me the rough details of like what you see on the application, because we don't have an application for that position yet, but let me know and let me talk about that with you privately, because I think we can probably help you out.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Okay, what else? We have a few minutes left. If we go over a little bit, it's okay, but Chris Duguay, maybe, says, off camera, your thoughts on starting your own trailer company. Thank you, love what you're doing. Thank you. I don't know, good luck. It's a lot of work. It's pretty challenging. You'd have to have, you basically need studio contacts to provide the work, whether that's Netflix or something else. I mean, you could start your own independent freelance production company cutting trailers, but then you're just basically a freelancer. So I'd say unless you have contacts that are going to have a steady source of work, that's the first step to doing something like that. What else? Off camera from, sorry if I'm butchering people's names. It's David. Off camera question, do you or will you review portfolios and give insights to those that are formally educated in film editing? Thanks again. Formally educated in film. Well, so like, I can't review like entire portfolios. Like I don't really have time to do that. If you wanted to send me, well, so, okay, so if you apply for the job, I'm gonna be reviewing your portfolio because I'm gonna look to see what you answered on the application, make sure everything's complete. If you submitted a portfolio, I'm gonna have a look at it. So in a sense, I am gonna review it, but I really can't give like, I don't have the time to do like a full-on critique and overhaul of something. I don't know if that answers your question, but there will be oversight, but I don't necessarily know that there's gonna be an enormous amount of constructive feedback on the portfolio. Not that you can really change it, because like your portfolio is what it is. Like, I don't know, I mean, it's not like you can go, you know, cut 20 new things to replace it all. What else? Okay, Stephen Stanton. Hey, you said unmute, so feel free to pipe up if you want to.
Hey, Chris. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, yeah, how's it going?
Good, good. Yeah, so I took the art of trailer editing course, completed that. I'm currently an LA-based editor. I work in entertainment marketing. I got my start in post-production at a promo house and a promo/trailer house here in LA as an assistant. So I'm familiar with that world. My current gig, where I've been an editor, it's in entertainment marketing, but it's not, I don't do TV trailers or promo or anything like that. I do sizzles, I do a lot of ads, I do marketing assets, materials, all that stuff. I work with, you know, like I have worked with some networks like the CW and ABC and created some marketing assets for them, videos, ads, all that stuff. But I know that when you kind of transition or, you know, go into these, transition to like a slightly different niche in editing, you know, they want to see direct work. And I've done some stuff on spec on my portfolio, and I'm just not sure like where I would stand exactly in terms of some of these jobs. I have heard some people taking a big step back or just taking a little step back, or I don't know if it's more linear for me or what exactly.
Okay, yeah, and you emailed me, right?
Yeah.
Yep, okay, I remember your email. Did I answer it? I don't know if I answered it.
No, I think I got the link to this.
Okay,
all right, go ahead.
Yeah,
No, that's all good. You're busy.
Yeah, it's been rough. Yeah, so it's a good question. It sounds like your work is pretty much in line with I mean, I don't think that it's too much of like, you don't have to take like one step back to get two steps forward. I think based on what you're describing, it seems like it's a pretty easy translation of the style of editing that you're going to be doing. So I would think that you could probably go right into an editor role.
Okay.
Yeah. And again, if you want to, well, I'll look at the email that you sent. I think it was a long email. Maybe that's why I haven't replied to it yet.
I'm sure yeah, it's probably just a lot of details. Like,
but shoot me a follow-up to that or something like that if you want to send me like a little bit. No, you included a portfolio. I'll take a look at it. We'll talk.
Sure.
Yeah,
and,
we'll figure it out.
And the other question was, I know there's that workshop coming up on Saturday. I wasn't sure if that would be beneficial for someone like me, or because I think my networking sucks in general. Most of the jobs I've gotten have been through tradition. Yeah, they've been through. Well, yeah, I'm in a dark room all day and I don't talk with humans. But yeah, there's sorry, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, networking, resume. I haven't really, done a full overhaul of that kind of stuff in a while, and yeah, I was just curious if that would be beneficial for someone in my position.
Yeah, I mean, I think so, like based on what you're describing. So again, like everything's kind of like you got to weigh the pros and cons, I guess. Like, I mean, so what Steven's talking about, I don't know if you guys saw the email. One of our colleagues, Zach, is doing a career in networking kind of live session like this, except I think it's like 3 hours long. And then there's a recording of it. And then, you know how we like do packages for our courses, like you can do standard, pro, or ultimate. So his standard is the live session plus the recording of this networking training and career advice. And then he has another tier which adds kind of more information about how to fine tune your resume, how to approach things, and how to kind of frame yourself as a bit more of a highly marketed asset, in addition to some other stuff as far as like, getting information off of IMDb to be able to reach out to people. So one of them's, I think, $297, one of them's $497. So, I mean, one way to look at that is that, if that, obviously you could look at that, like if that helps you get a job or improve your job, it's pretty easy to make up that cost. If you don't think it's going to be beneficial, then you're just wasting money. I would say for you, I would get that, and I would do the full package thing, because you probably have a lot on your resume to kind of mold into a presentable asset. So it would probably be worth any advice that he can give you as far as making the most of the assets and the experience that you have when presenting yourself to these new jobs.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right, well, we're a little bit over. I'm just going to do a quick skim to see if there's anything major that I haven't addressed that really should be. If I didn't get to your question, which I'm sure applies to some of you, please feel free to literally just copy and paste your question out of the chat and just send it to my email, chris@filmeditingpro.com. I'll get to it. It might not be today, but I will get to it and I'll answer your question. But is there any other major important question here that applies to a lot of people? This is a good question, and I think we'll end on this from Jacqueline Anderson. Jacqueline, feel free to hop on if you want to, but no pressure. So Jacqueline says, my fear is that if I send something that the companies don't like, I don't want to be blackballed. And when they see my name again, I'm paraphrasing here because I think you mistyped something. But when they see my name again and I've improved, that they're not gonna want to talk to me. Yeah, it's a good question. So I would say that these companies have very short memories, very, very short memories, and they see a lot of applications. So they're looking less at your name and they're looking more at the general picture that you're providing them. So you're going to blur with a lot of other people if you're not somebody that they immediately single out as being worth pursuing at that time. So I would not let that hold you back. I would just do it. Don't be afraid. Again, so you're going to submit it and we're going to see it first. And Jacqueline, I'll look out for your application personally. If I see something on it that's egregious, then I'm like, Jacqueline, you can't do that. What are you doing? I'll let you know. So yeah, we won't let you apply with something that's embarrassing. Don't worry. But yeah, don't be afraid to apply. Just do it. And you know, honestly, the worst that's going to happen is that nothing happens and you don't hear from anybody. But nobody's going to remember you 2 weeks later if you didn't get the job. All right. Yeah, there's more questions, but we got to stop. Please email them to me. Is there anything that I wanted to address? No, we covered remote work, we covered visas, we covered software, we covered unions, and then a million other questions. So I think that's going to be it for today. Hopefully this was helpful, and hopefully it alleviated some concerns.
Chris, thanks again, and everybody have a great day, and I'm sorry for your loss too today. So.
Oh, thanks. Not to downplay it, but it was my friend's dad, so I didn't really know him. It's okay. I'm just there for my buddy. But it's,
Chris,
it makes me feel like a nice person.
Chris,
yeah.
man, you're doing a lot of really good work for a lot of people, and I know everybody in the room is really thankful for all the awesome work you're doing, and the tutorials and all the stuff. It's just so next level. It's so great to see your work, and what you're doing is awesome. Thanks.
Thank you, Tyler. I appreciate it. Yeah, and now we got a lot of help now, so we're gonna keep trying to do more stuff. We're gonna try to, like this next course that's coming out, it's all about graphics and VFX. I mean, we're doing more editing stuff. We have art of documentary coming. We're going to do one that's all about sound design. What else? We might do a comedy or a horror course, but those are kind of niche. But yeah, the next one that's coming out, we filmed a whole film shoot in our in a setting back in California. That's going to be provided for doing green screen work and doing animations and everything else. So that's going to be fun. We're trying to kind of expand and kind of teach people all the skills they need, whether or not you're going to be a freelancer one-stop shop, or whether or not you're going to work, at a company and just do one specific task. Hopefully we got something, no matter what your goals are.
Let me know if you need an animatic editor.
Yes, animatic. Yeah. So I will be saving the chat. I will be going through here and marking down, like, we need to address that. We need to make sure that we have someplace in Germany. And we need to make sure Jacqueline doesn't embarrass herself. So we're gonna hit all these points. Thank you guys. Thank you for showing up
Have a
today.
great day.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
All right, take care.
Too.